Alright, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Anass, I'm a junior doctor working in the UK. And in today's video I thought, you know what, let's make a video about what my first day or my first week as a doctor has been like. I've obviously just started. I've been working in the hospital for about a week and a half, 2 weeks roughly. So let's talk a bit about that and see kind of for people who might be interested to know, what's it been like for someone who has never worked as a doctor before. So the way I've decided to structure this video is based on actually some of you guys' suggestions. I put a sticker on my Instagram, so go and follow that if you haven't, where people just ask a whole lot of questions, and then I took the ones that were the most frequent and I put them into different sections of this video. The first section is about what my schedule's been like in the first week and the second week as well. Then moving on to kind of expectations versus reality. So what did I expect before I started and what's the reality been like right now? The third is to do with placement versus working. So obviously when you're a medical student, you're on placement or you're on clinical rotations. So how are those times like different from when you're actually working in real life? And then the final section, which was something that loads of people asked about as well, is how much do you earn? Alright, how much do you earn as a first year junior doctor, foundation year one kind of trainee? How much P's? Are you stacking or you're not stacking? People want to find out, so we'll talk a bit about that as well. Before I go into things, just a quick disclaimer that in this video I will not be talking about any kind of patient-specific information. It's all just going to be generic and stuff to do with the job, so everything is obviously going to be kind of confidential and strictly no patient details or information is going to be discussed at all. Okay, so yeah, let's get into the actual video once that disclaimer is there. Okay, so let's start off with the work schedule. Okay, so I got my work schedule a couple of weeks before I started working, so I kind of already knew what it was going to be like starting off. Like, would I be starting on something a bit more intense? Oh, you can hear the birds as well, it's because the window's open. But yeah, I kind of knew it was going to be a bit more intense at the start or less intense, etc. And my first week was actually something called being on call. So there are a few different work patterns that you have as a doctor. So either you have your kind of ward-based work. So in a hospital there are different wards or different kind of departments that deal with different parts of the body. So you might have like a respiratory department where they deal with the lungs. You might have a cardiology area where they deal with the heart and everything to do with that. You might have another section which is kind of acute medical unit, but then you also have on-calls. Okay, and the on-calls are often much longer shifts, so you might work like 12 hours. You might work during the day, you might work during the night. So luckily I don't have any night shifts. The job of the on-call team is essentially to assess the newly kind of arrived patients and decide whether to admit them or not, and then also decide where they're gonna go in the hospital. Like, are they gonna go to cardiology? Are they gonna go to respiratory? Can you just treat them quickly and for them to go home? The job of the on-call team is also to deal with all of the new issues that might come up in the hospital when the actual regular team is not there. So for example, let's say the cardiology ward, all of the regular staff go home at 5, but then after 5 or out of hours there might be new things that happen. Like someone might become quite unwell and they need to be seen by someone might start bleeding, or someone might, you never know what kind of stuff happens, but they also need to be dealt with kind of imminently or straight away. So that's the job of the on-call as well. So I started with an on-call kind of shift, or a whole series of them, so like 5 days of those. So yeah, that's what I did, and I did like 12-hour shifts pretty much every day with like a few days off in between, and it was from 9 or from 8:30, from 9 to 9:30, so 12 and a half hours. And that's what I started with. That's what my schedule was in the first week. And then in the second week I came off that really intense part of my job and went to the regular ward-based work, which is a lot more chill and a lot more kind of. What were my expectations? Alright, so what were my expectations going into the job, and what's the reality like? So obviously I haven't done this job long enough to have like a full understanding of what the reality is like. I think that video will be much more useful at the end of the year or at the end of the 2-year foundation training, whatever. Yeah, but in terms of what I thought my first day or my first week was going to be like when I was a medical student, I thought I was going to be eased into it a lot more. Like the fact that I started with an on-call was like a massive icebreaker, because you know, even though you're supervised all the time, okay, so because you're new, you're not expected to know everything. Obviously you're not putting anyone at risk, and you get supported, yeah. But you know, I thought, you know, my first prescription was going to be something simple like paracetamol or whatever, but I started on call where I saw, you know, some sick patients. Even though it was intense, it was like a big icebreaker. It just broke the ice quick time, and I just got used to working in the, you know, a bit more fast paced. Whereas had I started on something that is much less intense, like starting on a psychiatry block or starting on the ward based type of work, then that's a lot more admin stuff. It's like you chasing up blood tests, or you chasing up x-rays, or you chasing up this and this and that, which is less medical and less pressurized. So yeah, I thought I was gonna be eased in. I was thrown in the deep end. Yeah, so that was one difference. And then the other thing, and finally when it comes to like expectations versus reality, is that what I found is that the job is actually a lot more fun the more you know. Like in the first day where you didn't know anything, you don't know how the computer works, you don't know where to click, and you feel like, you know, you're slowing everyone down, you know, it's never nice to be kind of the weak link in the chain. Do you get what I'm saying? So the more you learn about how things work, the more fun it becomes, because then, you know, all the tedious stuff just come to you automatically. You already know where to ring to get the XYZ done. You already know what the next step is if XYZ happens. So the more you find out, and the more kind of I'm learning from day to day, the more fun it's becoming, because the tedious stuff are becoming more autonomous, and I get to kind of focus on learning new things. So yeah, the job is becoming more and more fun the more I know, I feel like. But we'll see, you know, what's gonna happen at the end of the year. I might make a video and be like, you know what, this job is a dead thing, don't want to work anymore, but we'll find out. And before we move into section 3 of this video, just want to tell you about one of the long-term sponsors of this channel, which is Skillshare. So Skillshare is just this amazing platform with hundreds of different classes on a variety of different topics, creative topics like photography and art and design and things like that, but also things about business and productivity and those topics. So there's a huge array of different topics, and it's nice to kind of be taught by people who know their craft really well. So it's a nice place to learn new things. In fact, I have my own Skillshare class on there, which is about how to go about building a meaningful channel, and I talk about how to find purpose and how to structure your thumbnails and your videos and stuff about kind of general points about the YouTube algorithm and things like that. But also there are other classes, like ones by Jake Bartlett, where he talks about After Effects and motion graphics, and those are specific skills that I use all the time in my videos, and you know, having like objects moving through the screen with motion blur and using the speed graph, and all of those things you can learn on Skillshare. So if you use the link in the description, the first 1,000 people to sign up will get a 2-month free trial on Skillshare. So use that link in the description and you can watch my course if you like, or you can watch the hundreds of other courses that are available, or the one by Jake Bartlett about motion graphics. Whatever you like, you can see that, use that link in the description, and yeah. Now, I'm going to be totally honest. When I was a medical student and I was going into placement, it is very, very difficult to always be actively engaged when you're on clinical rotation, because you don't have any responsibility when you're there. Okay, you have no responsibility for the patients that are there. The responsibility lies on the doctors that are working there, and also, you know, you're in there sometimes, and sometimes you're not there, and it's just kind of. It's just difficult to always be wired about everything that's happening on that ward. Whereas when you're working, the responsibility lies on you. And now it's not that kind of the responsibility lies on you to do things that you don't know how to do, but rather it's your responsibility to always know what's going on and refer to other people who might know what's going on when you don't know what to do, right? So the point is that when you're a student and you don't have any responsibility and you're not making any decisions, I feel like clinically you don't learn as fast. I mean, you can sit and discuss things, but you just don't learn as quickly. But what I found is that when you're working, you tend to just pick things up very, very quickly. So once you've got one thing done, then you kind of never forget it again. And also, I remember when I was a student, I used to be in awe of all of these like regs and consultants and sometimes even junior doctors who used to hand over or they present their patients like in a mad, like succinct way and just like bang through all the points without even looking at their sheets. Whereas, when I was a student, I'd write everything down about a patient and then you go to like present it to someone and you're like reading off your sheet and none of it is memorized. But when you're a doctor and you're working, you're just kind of, you remember all the blood results without looking at them. You remember where the patient is, which bed and whatever. You remember what investigations they have and what they showed. You remember what treatment they're on. You remember everything without checking that stuff up. And also you remember what to do once you've done it once. So that's an important learning point that I found. And now we get to the last section, which is how much you get paid. Everyone wants to know about the mullah. Everyone wants to know about the P's. Are you stacking money? People think doctors are rich and that. The lowdown is that as a junior doctor, you start off with a base salary. The base salary is like £27,000 to £28,000, I think. One of those. And the base salary meaning like, that's what you get paid for your 9 to 5 shift every week. But then you get like top-ups depending on whether you work weekends, whether you work out of hours. So you know how I said you're on call for 12 hours? So you might get the normal pay from 9 to 5 and then from 5 to 9, those extra 4 hours, you get like a higher hourly rate. So your pay could go up from like 28,000 to 35,000 pounds a year. Yeah. So and that's before tax. So I mean, it'll be a decent like after tax, say £2,300, 2,400, maybe 2,500 a month, which is alright. It's cool for your age, I guess. Like when you're 25, you get paid a lot more obviously in other jobs for that age. If you want to get money, go to investment banking or go do accounting or go do become some type of entrepreneur where you can stack P's. So this is obviously not the job for making a lot of money, but yeah, I mean, you can survive on it. And then obviously using that, you're gonna pay your rent and your daily expenses. So your rent might be like 600, 700. So that takes it down to what money do you have left? You've probably got like 1,800, 1,700 left, and then you're gonna pay for like your food, and then that takes down like another 300 to 400, and so you've got like 1,300 left maybe, and then yeah, you might want to spend some money on like clothes, and then that takes it down to like 1,900, and then yeah, the money goes out. You get what I'm saying? It leaves the pocket. So yeah, and then you might want to save up some money as well. So yeah, that's how much you get paid as a junior doctor. So yeah, I mean, overall my first week has been fun. It's been the learning, obviously the learning curve is hella steep with all these logistical stuff that you're learning, as well as more and medical kind of clinical information that you're becoming more clinically competent. That's a good way of putting it. Very steeply and very quickly, especially if you are what's the word I'm looking for? Especially if you're not like work shy. If you're not work shy and you try to get stuck in all the time and you ask for opportunities to see things and you're always there to kind of offer help to other people, then you learn a lot more quickly as well. So yeah, overall, it's been alright. I might make an update video in like 6 months, who knows, or in a year, and my views might completely change. But it is what it is. But yeah, if you have any questions, then make sure to drop them in the comments. I try to reply to all the comments, at least in like the first day or two. So drop them there and I'll try to reply to them, even about the job or but whatever. Also, check out the link in the description and sign up to Skillshare if you want to learn new things. Go and check my Instagram if you want to follow that. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Hope you have a good day. Be safe.